Welcome, everybody, to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Emily Gomer, and a podcast engineer here. And we would excited to bring you another episode of the Aspie Bridge Show with Suzanne Plumley. And we're here every Wednesday, or every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central. And talking about like diagnosis, Asperger's, and stuff related to it. So, nothing further ado, I pass it over to Suzanne to kick us off.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming back to the Aspie Bridge. Now, I want to start out quickly and just say perception is interesting. Some of you may find that using the word Aspie may not be what you resonate with. And I can tell you that it's not a derogative term the way I'm looking, and that's perception. Imagine a town by the name of Waco, Texas, where they had a not so fortunate episode. And then imagine a family by the name of Dean's family, Chip and Joanna from HGTV, come in and rename the town. Well, I'm kind of looking to do the same thing with Aspie. Aspie isn't derogatory and it doesn't give any notice to the person who was responsible in Austria or Germany. But I just want to let you know that the Aspie Bridge is something that's deep to me because it helps people understand that we aren't just less than individuals. We do have special gifts. And part of the special gift is our intuition, our vision for the future. And that's what our topic is for today. Is looking at new perceptions, new way of looking at things. And I'm hoping that anyone who says to you, oh, you listen to the Aspie Bridge, that's derogatory, please help them understand that it's all in your perception. Aspie can be a good thing from now on. It means that we are visionaries. We're able to see things before many people are able to see things. And without further ado, I would like to say my usual saying. With all the wonderful Aspies out in the world, such as Paul Michelaf in Australia and Samantha Stein in the Netherlands, Sarah Hendricks in the UK, Temple Grandin here in the US, and so many more autistic individuals who found out later in life that they were autistic, telling you all about the traits and how to manage the traits of autism. The mission of the Aspie Bridge is to help connect you to people who have a zone of expertise that might be able to help you go back into society feeling a little bit more secure. Now, many of us get stuck in this neurodivergent forest thinking that there's nobody in society who can help us. Now, you've seen all the people who have come on to the Aspie Bridge podcast. And while my guest today is tied up because she works with a group of individuals who are trying to rehabilitate themselves back into the society themselves, she helps them to understand that, the first place to start is to listen to that small voice in our heads. And that is the mission of the Aspie Bridge, is to connect you to people like Candy Norris, or Candace Norris, her proper name, and help you to understand that that still small voice is what is going to get you to the next step of your dream. Without that small voice in our head, we hear a lot of chatter, a lot of opposing voices. We hear the voices of perhaps a parent saying, "Why are you doing that?" Or we hear a sibling saying, "I wouldn't have done that if I were you." And we have all sorts of people in our world that try and tell us what to do. The still small voice is not like that. The still small voice is the voice that says, here's your next step. I encourage you to go for it. It's not frantic. It's not going to tell you, do it now. Do it now. No, that's not the way the still small voice comes to you. The still small voice is a voice of truth. It's from our higher power, encouraging us to take that next bold step. Is it going to be a matter of just crossing the street? No, it's going to be a little bit more bold than that. It's going to be something such as go for this job. It's going to be good for you, or connect with that person. They are the right person to get you to the next step. This voice is very calm. How do you recognize it? Well, we often can recognize the still small voice as if it's a friend who always calls us and we recognize their voice. As I say, it's not going to be someone who's going to be judgmental of us. No way. It's not that kind of person. It's not going to be someone who is going to tell us, if you don't do this, you're going to lose out on your dream. No, it's not that voice either. This still small voice. Well, let me give you a story. Every so often, I get this urge that says, you've learned everything you can here. It's time to move on. And I have to listen to that voice 3 times. If you hear it once, yeah, you might begin to wonder, I don't know, was I imagining that? But sometimes what happens with the still small voice is it will show up again. Maybe you're reading a book and all of a sudden you read something about an idea that you just had the other day, where it says, moving is the next step to your life. Go on and do it. And then you might hear a TV show all about moving. Now, that would be 3 different signs. And while it may not come inside your mind, there are 3 signs that will say the same idea. And those 3 signs are to help you get the idea that this is not just in your imagination. This is an actual voice that's encouraging you to take that next step into the future. So, Candy is an expert at helping her charges understand that if they want to lead a life of rehabilitation, what they first need to do is start to listen about the voice of what's telling them to move on with their life. Does not get stuck in the system that they've been stuck in all these years, but to listen carefully. One may say, go and make amends with your brother. That's where it begins. Another might say, go and volunteer at the organization where you might have had an altercation. Get your name back out there. These are all different ideas. Now, I can't say for sure exactly what she does. That would be up to her. And unfortunately, she's not available today. But these were some of the things she was telling me this past May of using the intuition to get people to start to really listen about what their next steps are. And understanding it's a voice of wisdom. It's not the voice of judgment. It's not going to tell you that if you're going to be bad if you don't do this next step, but it is going to say this next step is going to take you even further along your journey. And as I say, it might be about moving to a certain place or meeting up with someone or taking a job that you might not have considered up until now. But that still small voice says to you, yes, this is right. And again, it's not frantic. You hear how calm it is. And you will get it in different sources. You may get it 3 times in your head. You may get it when you're listening to someone on a news conversation, or you may read it in a book. But those signs are still as valuable as the still small voice in your head. There are confirmation to let you know that that voice is real. It's a way of saying to you, yes, this is in alignment with what that still small voice is saying to you. And I want to say that sometimes if you're not sure, you can ask a question. Now, you can't just ask any question, such as, What movies are playing this week? Well, you're going to get movies that are all across the country telling you what movies are playing this week. You might even say, tell me what movies are playing on Main Street. You're a little bit closer to having a detail, but how many Main Streets are out there? When you ask a quality question, you're going to get a quality answer. You're tapping into the universe. Now, we all go to Google, and I know I have been going to Google an awful lot, and to another site called Quora, where you can get some excellent advice. And sometimes we need to ask those questions. And I find myself, when I put in a simple question, such as, how do I deal with this? I'm going to get a whole bunch of different ideas on how to deal with that. But if I put in the specifics, how do I deal with such and such of a person who exerts such and such a force or idea and expects me to carry it on? Now we're getting a little bit more specific. Let me even give you a better example. And this was one my mentor kind of gave it to me when I was preparing for this class. She had said to her sister, let's go see a movie in Seaside. Well, do you know how many seasides there are across the country and across the world? She had to put in more specific information. And I want to tell you that when you put in specific question to the infinite, you're going to get a more specific idea on what you can do. And that is the way that we start to really pay attention. What do we do with that chatter in our heads? Maybe we're the type of person, I know I am, where I get a bunch of different ideas in my head. Well, it's going to require us to take some deep breaths to quiet our mind. Maybe we need to light a candle. Maybe we need to pull ourselves away from other people, take a walk in nature. Sometimes we need to know that secret sauce that's going to help us to find the quiet in our lives where we can remove the chatter in our minds. I know for me, right before I go to bed is not the best time. That's a time for giving gratitude for what the day has given to you. That's not necessarily the time to ask the infinite. Now, perhaps maybe after you've given gratitude for what has gone on for the day, you can then say to the infinite that special question. I would love to know what I can do to bring an extra $500 into my bank account by the end of the week. Well, then when you go to sleep and you start to really think about that question, that's when you may get answers from that still small voice, because after all, that still small voice comes from our subconscious most of the time. Our conscious is what we're taking in around in the world around us, the sights, the smells, the sounds, the textures, the all of the five senses that are affected. But the subconscious is where some of those ideas come from. And when we're sleeping, what we don't realize is that some of those ideas can come to the surface. And you can wake up in the morning. I bet you've done this before. You've woken up in the morning and said, wow, that's a great idea. Well, where did that voice come from? That is your still small voice. That is the voice that is telling you, we're bringing it up from your subconscious to let you know that here are some ideas to make that $500 come into your bank account by Saturday. Now, it's going to require action. It's not just going to float into your bank account. It's going to give you ideas on how to make that happen. After all, we're not here to have every wish deemed to us as if throwing a coin into a wishing well. We are co creators. We are the ones that need to take the action steps to meet that person that's going to help us. Or we need to go fill out the job application that our small inner voice says. We can't just expect that the company is just going to call us up out of the blue and say to us, hey, by the way, we have a job you'd like. No, we do have to be co-creators. We need to take the step toward finding that next step on our dream, on our way to the dream. Now, that still small voice may say to you, go to the bookstore in your town. Now, that would be a step of a voice that you might hear in your voice. And it may come back another time and say, you know that bookstore down the corner. Check that out. Every so often those thoughts are not our imagination. They are the still small voice. And I want to just let you know that we need to continue to quiet our minds, as I was talking about when we go to sleep or when we go out to nature. We need to find a way to calm the chatter because a lot of us have what I consider 7 freight trains in our minds, and they all want the same track. So we need to find that place, that special place where we can relax, where we can take breaths, where we can start to really listen to the thoughts that are going on in our mind. That's where the still small voice comes from. And the still small voice is our intuition. It's giving us nudges. And the nudges, as I say, go to such and such, meet with such and such a person. It's not telling you to run down there. It's not frantic. It's very calm and it's not judging. Can you decide not to do it? Absolutely. And I want to tell you that if you choose to decide that that's not an opportunity you want to take, it will come back around again if you're meant to have it on your path. You may ignore this opportunity to have this voice or this thought come into our mind and say, no, that's not on my path. That's not part of my dream. I'm not going to do it. And so you go on with your life. And about a week or two later, you get another thought that comes up that's on the same wavelength as the thought that came up before. Now you start to pay attention. It's like, wait a minute. I was thinking that last week and I ignored it. I thought that wasn't the way I was supposed to go. And here's this thought again. That's your still small voice. Every time you ignore the opportunity and it's meant for you, it will come back. It will resurface again and help you to take the opportunity. Let's say you go and you ignore it again because it's, after all, only the second time you've received it and you ignore that idea. And opportunities come and opportunities go. However, you're going to find that if you hear the voice again and you actually take the step this time, that's the time that you're going to get in touch with the right person, with the right place, with the right idea. And sometimes, as they say, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. And that's the same concept. Sometimes we're not ready for the idea that comes into our mind. Sometimes we need to test it and say, yeah, that doesn't sound like that's something I'm interested in. Now, if you're meant to have that opportunity, that idea will resurface again. So I would love to have anyone who has a question about the still small voice. Everyone gets it. Our ideas don't just come out of the blue. They do come to us specifically as a way of us going along the path in our life. They're not always a part of our imagination, as we sometimes might think. So, I'm going to end this one early today, as I usually have a conversation going back and forth. But I think if you have any questions about the still small voice, I can give you a way to connect with a video to help you understand it better. But let's recap for a moment. This voice is not urgent, it's not judgmental, it comes across calmly. When you hear the same idea, whether it be inside your mind or through a book that you've read or on a television show you watch, you start to notice what you're noticing. It's like, whoa, I was just thinking about that the other day. And here it is on this news station or on this television program. Wow, it's not coincidental. It's meant to capture your attention. So, the rule of three is pay attention when you get a thought. See if there are other times when a similar thought comes up, whether it's inside your mind or in some of the different ways that you are interacting with the world. A television show, a book, a movie, a conversation you have with a friend. Sometimes we begin to realize that, whoa, that idea is common. Start to pay attention to that. And third, oh, I forgot to mention, when you are having a life right now and you're deemed for a higher life, a better life, it's not going to come out of the blue. It's the small voice that helps us get to the vibration of the life we want to live at. We can't just say, okay, so next week I'm going to be a millionaire. Well, you may hear different ways to become a millionaire, such as go buy the winning lottery ticket, but usually, the life you're living right now is not at the same frequency of your dream, and you need that still small voice to help you realize the steps to get there. You're not going to get all 50 steps between now and next week to become the millionaire. It's going to take a couple of steps in between. But if you take the opportunity to take that first step, the next step will come, and you'll take that step and then keep going. And pretty soon you're getting close to that dream you would like to have. Now, remember, you really want to think carefully about your dreams. Are they doable? I urge you to go and take the tiny steps. Yes, eventually they are doable, but you probably will not be taking leaps up to that millionaire. You probably will be taking leaps up to doubling your income or getting an opportunity that brings a little bit of money into your life in a different way. But I urge you to take the first step that comes into your mind. If you want to ignore it, it will come back again. So to recap one more time, the voice of wisdom comes in calmly, never frantically or judging. It helps you move from the life you're living right now to the life you'd love to be living in small steps. You're not going to get the whole roadmap all at once. You're going to get in small steps. It can talk to every person as long as you're willing to listen. If you just say, no, that's my imagination, then you're not listening to the voice. You're not paying attention to other opportunities when this voice may come out. And finally, when you're looking for the next step to come into your mind, ask a qualified question, a specific question to help you get to the next step. Who can I talk to that will help me answer my desire to learn how to paint? Where can I go where I can find a living community that meets my needs? These are different questions you can ask in order to get the still small voice starting to give you step after step to get to where you'd love to be. So I hope you have understood what is going on with the still small voice. Listen 3 times for it. Understand it's not frantic. It's like a friend who's telling you the next step. And know that you need to ask qualified questions in order to get the next step. I hope that you will find that life comes back